Ladies and gentlemen, order in the court. Today's proceedings finds the people versus James McGill.
Legal troubles got you down. Bosses refusing the payout. Hit and run leave you stunned. Drug lords in your future? Maybe not, because he'll get your case dismissed. He'll get you the defense you deserve, but only if you say the words.
Oh no, I need legal representation. Whatever shall I do? What do I say? Oh wait, I know.
Better
Better
call
call Saul.
Saul.
So, without further ado, let's begin judging Saul. Court is now in session.
You will atone.
All right, that's right, Dragon. Break out those inside out tissues because we're here to shed some waterworks. Do, 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 do. Okay, so it is the penultimate episode ever, not of the season, but of the whole show, of the whole entire Breaking Bad universe. For all we know, that Vince might do another one. He might not. We don't know. So for the time being, this is the second to last one ever. And Dragon, suffice to say, I mean, the one thing I need to just get off my chest about this episode, just in general, is, I mean, thank God Ray Seahorn got nominated for an Emmy, man. Could you imagine the outroar if we saw that bus scene and she was not on that lineup?
But I'll tell you what happened. It's rather simple. Whoever's in charge of the Emmys this year, they would have gotten a knock at the door. You know who would have been?
Jonathan Banks.
You are correct, sir. It would have been old Banksy. It would have been knocking at the door. Say, so I saw the Emmy roster. I think you're missing one. Maybe we should go inside and discuss this.
In my heart of hearts, I think maybe that whole operation could also be a make Huel happy type of situation.
Well, sure. You know, Banks would have him right behind him. Hey, Huel, are you happy? Reasonably.
I'm just saying, it looks like Bill Burr is sadly probably not going to be involved unless he's like in the cold open of the last episode or something like that.
Well, again, unless Saul Goodman has to pull one favor out of his bag, and it's QB.
Could you imagine? Oh man,
that's the only way in which we're getting QB. Otherwise, just kind of, I'm assuming what happened is Bill Burr didn't want to risk the pandemic. I'm going to guess that's what happened.
Which is fair.
It is fair. It's just, but I mean, he's ultimately still in Breaking Bad. There was always like the wiggle room of if you ever wanted to dig your heels in and not have him in the show, you could always just say, well, he was brought on after Saul Goodman was a little worried about things. So, you know.
All right. So, suffice to say, Dragon, I think, let me ask you this, just out of curiosity, before we dive into this. Is this, do you feel the same way that a lot of people feel, myself included, that this is probably the best of the 3 epilogue episodes we've gotten so far?
Well, if we're counting, like, you know, the 3 posts, you know, the 10 episodes as the epilogue, as like a kind of a 3-part epilogue, I mean, it's really hard to say because we still have one left. But, I mean, I don't know. The last episode had something really, really nice going on with this one. I don't know. There's kind of I think this one ends on a little bit more of kind of a crescendo, where the other one was kind of an artful crescendo. It's kind of hard to equivocate.
So I think this one, like, I think the fan service in this one is more natural, and there are people that are saying that the fan service in the Breaking Bad episode is just kind of like, you know, just pure member berries, and I disagree with that. I think there's some substantial thematic stuff going on there, especially with the bad choice of it all. But having said that, Dragon, I will say that this episode, what I liked about this episode in comparison to the last 2 episodes we got, is that it feels a lot more big in its scope. It feels a lot more endgamey. Whereas the last couple episodes, I mean, they've been great, but ultimately, they've just kind of been about, you know, Gene sort of sliding back into the role of Saul Goodman and kind of dooming himself. Whereas this just really feels like a big, broad spectrum, like, overview of, you know, like being able to go back to Albuquerque, tying up the loose ends with Hamlin. Dragon, we cleared Howard Hamlin's good name.
Essentially, yes.
So, anyways, I don't know. I think this episode was firing on all cylinders, and of course, just to get into it, Dragon, I love how we have the whole. You know what? I still include Michelle McLaren in the mix here for the.
Well, not for this, not for this one though, man. Because again, she only did like very spare episodes of Better Call Saul.
No, I
She's all over.
understand that, but she's still an all-star director. I still think she needs to be in that Mount Rushmore of the last 4 episodes.
Well, the all-time Rushmore, yes. I thought you were speaking specifically of a Better Call Saul Mount Rushmore.
No, but I'm just saying it's cool that the only one missing is Ryan Johnson.
Yeah, the only one who didn't. Yeah. like he's the Hamburglar of cinema. Yes.
He's the Hamburglar of plot twist, essentially. Yes.
Okay. Anyway,
but let's see. So yeah, this episode, of course, is Dragon. Oh my God, it's the last one done by Vince. Jesus.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So each of these,
there's such finality in that.
Just something to point out with these 3 episodes, by the way, because it's kind of occurring to me since you brought it up. Yeah, because think about it. 10 essentially is, again, kind of how the show very much could have ended. You could have just ended there, like kind of like the note of like he hung up the suit and tie. We don't. That kind of speaks to maybe he's not gonna put it on. And again, like we had a story for him, and we kind of said everything we need to. And again, you could have an ending there, and these 3 are very much again kind of like. Not an epilogue, but this is basically like kind of like a movie in 3 parts, essentially, what we're doing.
Essentially, yeah, it's very much got an El Camino vibe to it.
And that's the thing, Tiki. With that, remember, like I think the end of 11 basically bleeds into this story very heavily in terms of where we leave Gene off for the story. So by that logic, these 3 episodes are very much linked, and very appropriately, they are kind of, they both have kind of a signature, kind of like voice of the show behind them, both directing and writing it for the last episodes. Of course, we kind of had Tom Schnauz's curtain call last episode.
Mm-hmm.
This week we got Vince Gilligan, who just to kind of give you a little list of the stuff that he's both written and directed, which in terms of the stuff that he's done individually, one of those 2 categories, it is numerous, given he created both shows to a degree. Created Breaking Bad and co-created Better Call Saul. He both wrote and directed Uno, the first episode of Better Call Saul, Mabel, the season opener of 3, Click, the season closer of 2, and of course, just with finales in mind, finale of Breaking Bad with Felina. That's the last time, one of the last times he both directed and wrote for Breaking Bad.
All right. So, with that all in mind, Dragon, do you want to just book a flight to Florida and get into it?
Yeah. So,
but not the nice part of Florida, not the touristy part of Florida.
Yeah, but we're not quite there yet, though, Tiki.
I know.
But yes, we're Florida bound.
Florida, why's my name Florida? All right, that's the one. That's the one.
Anyway. So we open the episode with a flashback centered around. Now, here's what I really like about this episode, Teague, with our flashback structures. It's all very much one singular event, but it's broken up into kind of pieces, kind of like that.
Very similar to the Breaking Bad episode, I think.
Yeah, which is good. The only difference is this is like literally like kind of like one singular event, like from like it's one scene broken up. Where that one is like it's technically 2 scenes. But I hear your point though. It's the fact that it's it's still like.
Well, I mean, I like if you want to call the scene where he's going into the high school a full scene, that's fine. But
well, no, I mean in his office with Mike, Tiki. I mean, but
yes, I'm sorry, you're right. Yes. How could I forget?
Technically 3 if you count the high school.
No, you're right. You're right. The scene with Mike does break stuff up. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. That's kind of the only difference there. But I'm saying I love that, mind you. I'm just saying this is kind of nice how we kind of like intercut like this, but we found a way to weave it really well into the story by just taking one scene and kind of chopping it up.
Sure.
So, for example, we start the episode off with our flashback here, which is centered around Saul Goodman's very legal divorce from Kim Wexler, and I like to view this as we keep throughout the entire series we keep earmarking and dog ear in the pages like this is the death of Jimmy McGill, and no, this is the death of Jimmy McGill.
Yeah, right.
And
do you think this very much is the death of Jimmy McGill here?
I think it's literally signing the death warrant or the death certificate.
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it.
And he knows that. I think that's my read on the scene is that he knows when he signs this. And again, the lawyer that Saul Goodman is, he knows when he signs this document there is no bringing Jimmy McGill back.
Uh-huh.
And I like that's kind of why he's a little like I don't contemplate is the right word in this case, but essentially he's kind of venting. He's throwing the rubber ball as an homage to when he worked at CC Mobile, Killing Time, which I
Of
love the
course.
visual symbol of Saul Goodman here. Just a guy throwing a ball at the Constitution, this esteemed legal doctor, and he's just like tossing a little rubber ball at it. Great Escape style, he's getting kind of a con man, crook, and kind of trapped by law. And and I love the whole office can hear it, by the way. And Francesca's telling him this on the phone. They can hear it. You're just like in there throwing a little rubber ball, right? It's
The
called
whole
thinking.
office,
Try it.
including Miss Wexler. So you can just imagine Kim just sitting out there like, what the hell is he doing? Jesus Christ, Jimmy.
And again, we show that he's upset. He knocks down one of the pillars. It's always one of the great running gags. The fact that the pillars are not built into the office. They're cheesy.
They are. They're very much like, yeah, they can lean and they can fall over.
Which has always been like one of the best design. Vince Gilligan always loved that design. That's why he put in the episode, by the way. It was his favorite thing about the set design of Saul Goodman's office, the fact the pillars were like not nailed down or anything.
Right, yeah.
But seriously, like the fact that he knocks it, he's upset because he knows this is it, not just for like Jimmy McGill, but for the Kim and everything. Like this, he knows this is the end, and he's really putting on a brave face for it, like kind of a jerky face for it later. But
I think putting on a brave face would be actually acting cordial, and he doesn't quite do that.
No, you're right, he doesn't. But also, a little document foreshadow here. I don't know if you picked up on this. Bernalillo County, of course, that is the courthouse, and we're kind of foreshadowing. We're gonna go back to that. We're gonna have a big document involved later in the episode that was also kind of filed through the Bernalillo courthouse.
I mean, I didn't catch that foreshadowing, but yeah, you're right. I can see it.
Okay, so we have we have our tape breaking, but yeah, I noticed this. I officially can definitely here we're using shots from the episode that are really really subtly. Like if you freeze frame, you can see like the shot of Kim at the airport later, like when you freeze the tape.
Right.
Okay.
And I love how at this point the tape has literally kind of become a character.
Yeah, but what's interesting? The tape always predicted the future, so it's still doing it with our current story.
Sure.
Okay,
Dragon, Florida, and oh my god, the way I describe all this Florida stuff, it's essentially like a death by 1,000 cuts, but all the cuts are just sheer mundanity.
So we've always praised Better Call Saul for its masterful mundanity, and this is Vince Gilligan just truly like kind of get into the weeds with it here. He's just really like, okay, let's show mundanity as a kind of a purgatory at this point for this character, which essentially is what we do.
So I listened to the Insider podcast, and I do applaud Vince for making the point where it's like, a lot of people live this kind of life, this kind of 9 to 5, and it's not necessarily a bad life, or that people that do this are bad people, or or even that they've like quote unquote given up or whatever. It's just that Kim Wexler, this is just so far removed from anything that, like, for such a career-minded woman throughout the whole series, someone who is like very, very career-driven. Dragon, it really is kind of a fate worse than death. I mean, to me, it's like I always predicted that Kim would end up in prison.
But something is very interesting, though.
Yeah.
Self-imposed. We have a very important distinction in this episode where we hear later on, before all Breaking Bad happens, she was heading down to Florida. Like she's not in hiding. She opted to go to Florida and
she's not in hiding at all. Yeah, I like that the episode makes that distinction where it's like she's clearly going by Kim Wexler.
Yeah.
Like I would like to think that the change of hair color is kind of like a a subtle like sort of like fresh start as far as
it's a fresh start, and she's trying to maybe just in case she might be recognized. Like it's like a bit again. She's not hiding from it. She maybe doesn't want any like. Especially, I mean, again, like when we check in with her, it's post Breaking Bad, so I'm sure if like Kim Wex, I don't know how recent the hair color change is. We don't know how recent it
Which,
is.
by the way, just how striking is that to see black and white Ray Seahorn with dark hair? I mean, it's like that's a striking
I
image, man.
wonder how calculated a choice. Now, unfortunately, I was unable to.
I think it's got to be
It
calculated. I
never
think it's got to be really calculated.
See, it never fails, Tiki. Every time I want, when we do these things earlier than we can, like the Insider podcast, it's like never available when I need it to be. So, unfortunately, I did not listen to it, so I don't know the answers to some of these questions. Maybe you do. But yeah, the black, I don't know, the hair thing makes me think like it had to be a calculated choice because again, how do we dramatically sell like Kim would look more striking with black hair than she would with blonde hair, and be kind of her equivalent to a Jean look.
No, absolutely. Vince did talk about that as far as like, the first time we see Kim in this timeline, it's just a very striking, like, oh my God, it like barely even looks like the same person.
And remember, we do the same thing we did with Jean, where Jean is making a Cinnabon, she is cooking.
Right. But of course, I do wonder with Jean, although granted, I'm not quite sure how much more of Kim we're going to see in the final episode, but with Jean, they did do the kind of great distinction of like, as the storyline with Jean went on, you could kind of see more and more Saul slip in there, even like visually into the performance. So I don't know.
Yeah. So she's okay. So Kim Wexler, she's relocated to Florida, essentially suburbia. Here, she's like her big kind of questions of the day are Mayo versus Miracle Whip. Because Tiki, they didn't have Duke's mayonnaise.
God.
And Tiki, you can't have mayo related cooking without Duke's mayonnaise.
It's true. I can actually kind of relate to this.
So yeah, again, so she's in the Jean position by choice and everything. I love the black. We have kind of like an Ed Wood gag in this episode. I don't know if you picked up on it, where I forget if it was like I don't know if the deviled eggs were colored or what. If that was what they were specifically talking about. When they're all the co-workers and like the housewives, so they were kind of like gathered around like this little kind of barbecue get together thing they were having. They're talking about the colors of something. It's kind of like great. Like we've been shooting in black and white. And they're talking about colors. It's really funny, and also like Kim's doing a puzzle, and it's completely it's like a pattern.
It's completely blank
because of the black and white, which is hysterical.
Yes.
So again, we're doing some Ed Wood gags. I had to. It's just really funny. Anyway, so again, it's kind of mundane.
What do you think of the husband who's just completely?
Well, we don't take
he just seems like he doesn't seem like a bad guy at all, but he just seems so simple. Simple is the word I would use to describe him.
Okay, so two things. So that guy is Glenn. So that's Glenn.
Okay.
Now we don't know that he leaves. We don't know that he's her husband.
That's true.
I'm just saying. I assumed as you did, husband, because again, it's, he's in the house. He's in kind of a comfy spot, but he leaves. I don't know if he's leaving for work, but I don't know. It's like it seems like it's at nighttime, and she's alone in bed. I think.
No, you're right. That's an interesting point. I didn't quite pick up on.
But I gotta tell you though, didn't you just get a sense of like, because we're so used to the whole Slip and Kimmy of it all and everything? It's like, hey, we have like kind of like a sex scene between them. It just feels kind of wrong. Like, oh no,
the sex scene felt wrong just as far as like even sex for her is just kind of like crossed this threshold into being just an exercise in mundanity, and that is bad.
Well, take my point in her choosing this Jean fate is, I think it's like her punishing herself. Do you think it's her punishing?
So. Absolutely, I read it that way. Yeah.
Because again, she could do anything she wanted to, because she's clever enough to do anything, even if she were like trying to downplay the lawyer thing amidst Breaking Bad, which clearly this is all when she moved there was before that, so she didn't even have to do that. But regardless, yeah, she's taking herself out of the lively equation, maybe with a purpose.
Uh-huh.
But then we have all these sad, and again, we're at the point now with these 3 episodes we can reference. Again, it feels very El Camino-esque in that we are referencing the show. We're referencing like something stupid with, she's brushing her teeth alone. She's in bed alone. And then during the cookout, they're playing the Pina Colada song.
Right.
So we're at Palm Coast Sprinkler.
Oh, yeah.
Where she works.
Oh, yeah.
You know my favorite detail you never see in TV ever, but we did it here?
What?
Sun visors in the car because it's hot.
I mean, it is Florida.
Like, can you think of any other time you've ever seen that on, like, in media?
I mean, I'm sure it's not the one and only time that it's ever been done,
No,
but
but
not
so
off the top
rarely is it ever done. We just park and we never address it. It's like, no, we don't put, they don't have time to like show them put like a visor up or anything. Like, no.
of my head.
Anyway, so basically she's in catalogs and brochures. So that's, she's like typing up like little brochures and
Yep.
stuff. Which basically, you know what the kind of the symbolism here is for me?
What?
She's essentially in doc review for killing Howard Hamlin forever.
I did absolutely notice that. Yeah, yeah, for
It's like
sure.
her
For
eternal
sure.
punishment for like he always put me in doc review. That's my fate. So yeah, like, she's but I love the work ethic of Kim Wexler. It seems to get her far here. She's putting her all into the doc review and everything, into kind of the brochures and everything, typing everything. My favorite detail is that she goes on the floor to ask about the products that she's writing about, which I'm sure no one else would do. So that's nice.
So it's like she still is kind of
Yeah.
devoted to her job, even though it is a
Mm-hmm.
mundane job. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
And again, she's again still the work ethic and everything I love about Kim Wexler. Yeah.
of course, yeah.
All right. Let's see. So let's see. All right. Anyway, so we have so it's lunchtime. Her and her and the girls. They're kind of. It seems like they're talking about kind of the fallout of it. It was probably all over the news. I don't know. We never knew exactly how recent the events of Breaking Bad are. All we know. Here's the thing. Francesca mentioned El Camino. She mentioned that Jesse Pinkman's car was found at the border.
I'm
Because
pretty
remember,
sure all of this is going on pretty concurrently with the ending of El Camino, to
I
tell
mean,
you the
it
truth.
it has to be, and by that logic, though, you have to think. Remember, because Saul Goodman leaves, he leaves when Walt during Granite State. So Granite State
Right,
accelerates
exactly.
like
Yeah.
Granite State accelerates a few for 1 or 2 years because he's 51. He goes to 50, at least a year. So Granite State
Uh-huh.
accelerates about a year. So by that logic,
So that itself is like a clear year to establish himself in the gene identity before the shit starts going
all right, so
down.
we do actually have an answer. I was now doing the math myself here. So yeah, so it's been a year since basically he's been Gene for about a year and change, however long it is for the between the finale of Breaking Bad and let's just say El Camino has happened, and
But I would say the start of the Gene storyline like I would say the start of the
yeah.
Gene storyline is kind of like happening like concurrently
Yeah,
with
no, exactly. I agree. Exactly, you're right. That's what
yeah,
I'm saying. So it's
yeah.
concurrent with El Camino, and probably El Camino is probably wrapped up when Francesca calls, most
Right,
likely. So,
right.
point being, it sounds like everything's on the news and everything from the events of Breaking Bad and the whole Heisenberg's dead and everything, and Saul Goodman's name, importantly for our story, is being thrown out there a lot. So these women bringing up like, what doesn't anyone do crystal meth anymore? I'm sorry, doesn't anyone? Sorry, not sorry. Doesn't anyone do crack anymore?
Yes, because crack is the drug of choice.
Yeah, again, they're in the Reagan era still. So that's the thing. So they're bringing that up, and they're talking about ecstasy and the pacifier thing. So again, the fact that they're kind of bringing up stuff that might make
I
me
have an
think of.
answer for the pacifier thing.
Well, we know what the answer is. The pacifier thing, don't we? Isn't it like so they don't swallow their tongue or something?
Bite their tongue.
Bite their tongue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. The more you know.
And I learned that from you too, by the way. That's why I
Oh,
know
I
that
think you
fact.
did. Yes.
Because you told me about that in the what if episode, the Marvel what if episode. You
Oh
told me
yeah,
about the
right. With
pacifier.
Korg and the pacifier.
Yeah. Why
Yes.
why
Oh
why does
god.
Korg have that pacifier? Then now we know.
I'm like,
Anyway.
well, Dragon, let me tell you.
No, Watiti's just a big baby. That's why. No. Anyways, the point being, they're bringing these things up most likely because of the Breaking Bad events that have just happened.
Uh-huh.
So, we see the receptionist who's going on this thing about like an exercise bike. Like, he got me an exercise bike for my birthday. What's the deal with that, man?
That is just such great, like, mundane office drama and gossip.
Yeah, so as that lady can't take a hint, Gene calls, and we have our big link up. And I was hoping we get this, and we did. We get the other side of that phone call.
So this phone call is very intense and pretty much as dramatic as we were hoping it would be. Dragon, is it just me, or does the timeline of like how long this phone call takes on the Kim side of things versus how long it takes on the Jimmy side of things? I know this is like a nitpick, but to me it didn't quite match up. It felt like the Kim side of things took significantly longer.
Well, I mean, it's like if I'm sure if you watch the episodes, probably he picks up the phone, a moment of pause goes by, and we see cars whizzing by. I mean, it's not. It is a brief conversation. I think it's an artistic liberty take. I don't think it's that. It's
Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal either, but
I'm just
it
saying we're
kind of
playing
stuck
with
out to
time
me.
period here. I mean, think about to appreciate just the thematic structure here. It's like, hey, we have this episode gives us fills in a big blank as to why exactly, or at least on a subconscious level, Gene is doing what he's doing in the scam that he pulls. Because think about it, every crook always kind of has this thing, but I think this call with Kim Wexler really lights the fire for subconsciously because of what she says to him here. Gene wants to get caught on some
Totally.
level, which is why he's taking bigger risk. And I think so. Again, we kind of have him like, why, like fundamentally, like, why is he doing this all of a sudden now? And we kind of speculate as to why, but now I think we
I
give a
mean,
better view as to why.
yeah, absolutely.
So Victor St. Clair calls, which is a great call out. And yeah, so Kim is essentially the
Oh,
Kim
I
side
also
of
love
this.
the detail of her closing all the blinds in her office, just very
She
meticulously.
doesn't know what's going to happen here. She has no
Yeah,
idea.
yeah.
So Kim, she's confronting her past as well as her guilt, and think about this, Tegan. In fact, we're going to get into this a little bit more later, but the Kim Wexler story is kind of a path to normalcy with what her life has been. She was like on the move and everything as a girl with her mother, and always, and her mother essentially trained her in how to pull a
No,
few cons.
yeah, I'm glad you bring that up because for her, mundane might be a victory almost.
I mean, I'll bring this up again later when it really correlates to what that scene encompasses. But think about it: she is one of two characters that actually broke bad and lived, and she was
Right,
smart enough to
right,
like
yeah.
she literally broke bad, but she turned down the money. So
Mhm.
it's like she kind of took a quiet retirement, which is so freaking rare.
Yeah, yeah, no, that is very interesting for sure.
Yeah. So let's see here. So again, we have this. Gene's calling because he's obviously alone. He's kind of has a place where he's kind of riding high in life, where he pulled a con and can go away with it quietly. And he's having this hope of like, hey, maybe Jimmy McGill can return. Like maybe Kim can give me like kind of a maybe I can kind of forge a life or something with her. He's trying to get his foot in the door there or something, or at least some semblance of. I think ultimately, and this is gonna be really interesting going to the last episode. I think he's looking for a semblance of redemption with that
Mhm.
phone call, a semblance of it, which again, it's far gone. It's kind of like, doesn't this phone call, in some senses, remind you of Walt and Walter Jr. on the phone?
In some ways, yeah, I
Yeah.
could see it. I could see
Clearly a
it.
very different conversation, mind you, but the fact that like she's not giving him the emotion that Walter Jr. did here, where it's basically it's been 6 years, and he's feeling cocky.
Sure, sure.
Yeah. And I love that he is just begging for her to give him something in this scene, just like give me some, like, call me an a hole, just be angry with me. I want to hear your voice. I want to hear you, Kim. Just give me something, man.
So what's
She doesn't.
interesting about that dragon is that like because we all assume that he smashes the phone booth because she does do that, but
Yeah,
in reality, it's kind of the opposite.
it's perfect though, because like the worst thing you could say to him, it's like no, it's not the thing he's used to or he's prepared to as a lawyer. Almost, as a lawyer, you're expecting like kind of a either an emotional appeal or like a loud appeal, but never this kind of appeal.
Right, right.
Yeah, just the whole turn yourself in, which I love that it's not embitterment at all. It's not like Skylar White or like Marie saying "kill
No,
yourself,
it's
Walt."
very much kind of just like she wants to save his soul almost.
Yeah, I mean honestly, I think I think it's a little it's kind of that, but I think more so it's like, hey, I've you need to you can't keep running. I mean, I think it's more she's trying to help him. Like, no, you cannot. I'm sure you're dying on the inside, kind of like I am to a degree right now. I'm not living my best life. You should, like, face the music and at least, don't hide from who you are. I'm not hiding. I'm just accepting my punishment. You need to accept your punishment, Jimmy.
Right, right.
Essentially, is what she's saying. Which, yeah. So, and of course, like face your action, which is the theme of the episode. Really, like it's about kind of Kim Wexler facing, ultimately it's about facing consequence, which she and then Gene do by the end of the episode.
Uh-huh.
So then I very we have a very defiant kind of Gene here, like calling again, very in denial here. He's throwing the hypocrisy back in her face, and I love how you can see how visibly upset she is because she knows he is not wrong at all in this scene. That she didn't face the music for all the stuff she was culpable with in. in the
It
the
was
first
just a
half of the
very
season.
mutually destructive phone call for like both parties. It's like, you know,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, exactly. The whole like, it was, and literally calling Ellie, everyone's dead now. There was nothing stopping you from turning yourself in. We have that great gag about the whole about like Lalo's, apparently too. Apparently he's buried
I
too.
love how it's
Apparently,
like Mike is definitively dead, Fring
yeah.
is definitively dead, Walter White definitively dead. Lalo dead? Question mark.
Well, no, we said apparently. I think what happened is once the super lab caved in, he then found out. So we were looping
Right,
that. Jimmy
right.
eventually did find out what happened to Lalo.
Oh God.
Eventually, he found out.
Do you think there was some sort of irony of like, oh my God, the lab that Walt and Jesse were cooking in the whole time?
Yep.
You think he put the pieces together there?
Yeah, sure, he did. Yeah. So I mean, Mike knew where the lab was. He probably he didn't tell Saul, but maybe in the aftermath, like after it was gone, he did. Maybe
I don't know.
I don't know. Well, it was all gone anyway. So what's the anyway? Anywho, well, plus I mean, I'm sure Walt probably told him about the lab. Yeah, we blew up the lab. Oh, really?
Right, yeah.
Anyway, so fundamentally something to weigh in here before we get to the last episode. I think fundamentally, Jimmy McGill fears prison and facing consequence more than anything.
Oh yeah, I think so too. Absolutely.
Because think about the. I'm sorry, go on.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, because like even in the Gene timeline, he has kind of been able to hold on to certain parts of his lifestyle, like the people pleasing and whatnot. But I feel like the ultimately just him actually being imprisoned and being caged in, like that's something he's been running from his whole life.
But speaking of that, Tiki, that's the fascinating thing. We've seen him at every point we've checked in with him on the precipice of going to prison. He is in a desperate, frightened state. Where think about it, like in the thing that brings in Albuquerque is the Chicago sunroof, in which Chuck bails him out and prevents him from going to prison.
Uh-huh.
And then you have the whole again the chicanery of it all with Chuck, with the whole Mabel thing, where Chuck, was a witness of it all, where Chuck, framed, got him with the whole tape recorder, and again he's in danger of possibly, well, essentially possible. Mainly he's going to get this far. He's not going to full on go to prison, but still there's a threat of that, and I think he was really on his heels. So he just it's the last thing he ever wants, which will be interesting seeing where his fate might go there, where he just you wonder if someone would rather take death than prison.
I mean, I feel like we saw through a couple moments in this episode he did come closer to physical violence than he almost probably ever has before in the springtime we've seen.
Absolutely.
So
I mean, I wonder if it's like the whole like lawyer thing of like like criminals and everything. It's just like a lawyer inside. It's just is
I
kind of a
could see
mark.
that. I could see that.
Perhaps it's that.
Especially someone as high profile as him.
No, I had a question. A question occurred to me during this, Tiki. Now, do you think, as much as he loves Kim Wexler, do you think Jimmy McGill would go to prison for her more so? Do you think Saul Goodman would have
No.
gone to prison for her?
No.
You think neither, or just Saul
I
Goodman?
think Jimmy McGill probably. Saul
Yeah.
Goodman, absolutely fucking not. No way.
Yeah.
I feel like in that flashback that we're gonna get to Saul, just how coldly he's treating her. Like Dragon, I think very much he blames her for leaving him out in the cold and kind of like essentially sending him down the path that made him become Saul Goodman. And and think about this too. It's like she almost kind of like egged him into becoming Saul Goodman in a way and then broke ties with him. So it's like she almost kind of like set him down the path and then cut things off. And so it's like he went down this path of self-destruction without a safety net from the person who was kind of like the architect of that. Like, there is a lot of levels. It's like, it's kind of funny because once again, I feel like Rian Johnson's kind of in the room here, like tee hee hee. What if Jimmy's actually mad at Kim and doesn't hero worship her? Because we always just kind of assume that whatever reunion we would get with Kim and Jimmy would be very like, if not bittersweet, like outright happy. But no, I don't think we're gonna get a a reunion where Kim like walks into the Cinnabon and Gene looks up and he's like, "Oh, after all these years, good to see you, Kim." That's not happening at all, Dragon. I
No,
think
no,
that ending is like off the table at this point.
absolutely, yeah.
So, all right.
But yeah, it's for sure. Yeah, I mean
And
that's
I think the whole idea of Kim defending Jimmy in a legal situation is also off the table. I don't see her getting her legal license back anytime soon, given the circumstances.
well, technically she never. Well, I think losing. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. Because yeah, she is officially retired, so that wouldn't happen. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And then she turns in all those documents too. So
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So, oh, for sure. Yes. Now that's the thing. We do put a fine point on Kim Wexler's culpability in the creation of Saul Goodman at a very specific point in this episode, which is going to be really interesting to get to. But yeah. All right. So so Kim's upset because he's right, and she literally had to divorce herself from him to and I think that killed a part of her. I think that's kind of like what you can see on her face here. Like she does love this man truly, but she sees the bad that is going to come from it, and it killed her to kind of separate from it. It's been a messy breakup.
Sure. All right, so we get the most depressing "Happy Birthday" song.
But also,
ever.
we had the. I'm sorry. We also had the whole "I'm glad you're alive" and this hangs up. That was a big, kind of.
I think that's a good note. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, but then we have the most depressing "Happy Birthday." It's funny. We have two big "Happy Birthday" moments in the Albuquerque verse. We have Skylar White's, Kennedy, the Kennedy.
Oh God!
Version,
Right.
which is like, hey, adultery, kind of in the making, and then we have this.
All right, and then Dragon Kim takes a bus.
Does she now?
And honestly, like given the map, this is a long ass bus ride from Florida to New Mexico. I think that's a long ass bus ride.
I think she's at the airport and she took the bus to get into Albuquerque.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're probably right. Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense.
That's the logic I have. I mean, otherwise, yeah, she did really take the long road getting there.
So, Dragon, are you ready for the most obscure but visually striking image of the whole episode?
Okay.
The automatic toll booth.
Oh my God, I didn't realize it was automatic. Yes, you're right.
It's automatic.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That is really
Doesn't that kill you? Doesn't that just kill you?
It just honestly, it makes
it subtle. It's very subtle, but it's there. I think it's there to make a point.
It's so bittersweet in that, like, yes, like Mike's not there anymore.
I
mean, obviously he was not there for a long time, but I just mean the fact of like, it's
right.
We're returning. The point being, Kim Wexler is returning to Albuquerque, which is big, and the fact of like you can't go home again. It's like the old trappings are not there. DeSeth, he's not there. Bill Oakley, he's not there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Jimmy's not there. Mike's not there. It's like we can't exactly go back to where things started. It's just,
obviously Howard's not there.
Clearly.
Yeah.
All right. So we have I'll tell you the most powerful moment of acting. There's a lot of good ones. Obviously, Ray Searon's killing it this episode.
Well, obviously we've got the bus breakdown. That's got to be.
I know. But there's the thing. Everyone's talking about that, and that's great. Clearly, I think we used it for a reason. But I gotta tell you, man, this moment I think is such a stellar moment that we had here. So she arrives in the old familiar stomping grounds, returns to Albuquerque, essentially to face her reckoning. She returns to the courthouse that we've seen so many times before, and we're going through it probably most likely one last time. And we see this caring public defender in a black ponytail, talking to her client, and reassuring him and everything, and making sure he's like walking him through the process in a very kind of manner. And basically, you have this heartbreaking look on Kim Wexler's face of that's everything I wanted right there.
Yep.
It's like that.
And she very much could have had that. She easily could have had that with the Clifford Maine situation.
I mean, to a degree, it's like it's everything she ever wanted out of life, and Saul Goodman took that from her.
Pretty much, yeah.
But she created Saul Goodman.
Although she did actually make the bad, that she did go on the bad choice road. She did turn that car around, so she's culpable as well.
And I think that face just sums it up that she makes. Just the fact of like, we made, he took this away from me, but I created the monster. So this
Sure,
is
sure,
again, it's
right.
like kind of it's the justice at play here. Anyway, so we see her go to the courthouse, and then she visits somebody, a Hamlin, but not Howard Hamlin.
No, because he's dead.
Sadly, yes, but his spirit lives on. So we meet the
Yeah, so
widow
seriously,
Hamlin.
Dragon, I was so happy when I realized that this meant that Howard's good name would be cleared.
Yeah, yeah. I
I
mean, to
mean,
be fair, it won't be.
it's a very dramatic situation for Kim, obviously, but I feel like for the Howard Hamlin homies out there, this is very much a victory for our
It
man.
is. I don't think it's going to make all the papers, but it definitely will. Will definitely redeem him in the legal community. Yes.
Yeah, and the legal community, which I think is what counts for him.
Yeah, yeah. So Kim
Maybe
faces
get
the.
a little statue outside of the previous home of HHM or something like that. Who knows?
Who knows? So let's see. So Kim she faces the music and she shows basically Cheryl the testimony that I assume she went into the courthouse. She gave a fully written testimony and
I
everything and
assume
had
she
it.
gave a copy of this to the courthouse. Yeah.
Yeah, because I believe the way it is explained in the episode is that basically she has filed this, so it is like in public records to question what they'll do next. So like it has been the damage has been done essentially. So now it's in like it's in the DA's hands essentially, whoever the prosecutor is in this case,
Right.
which I believe would I here's the thing because it's connected to Saul Goodman. I wonder if it's going to still be Erickson because she is pursuing the Heisenberg case. So I wonder if that falls into
True.
her purview
True.
because right now they're going after Saul Goodman. I don't know. Regardless, it's Salamanca connected. I have no idea. Regardless, so basically, we learned what happened to Howard Hamlin, that she was murdered and everything, and Kim is willing to go down for it. But she then, I love how this scene plays because we don't. Again, this is the whole like there's that Hamburglar Ryan Johnson again in the corner where where he's basically like, hey, let's not have like a big like name calling affair and everything where it's like Cheryl's ticked off, but she's like, she's asking like, are you're basically you've fallen on the sword here. Why don't you know what's going to happen? Well, there's no evidence aside from my word, and Saul Goodman might be dead for all we know. Again, she is still protecting him.
Uh-huh.
Big distinction there, still protecting him, which gives me ideas for how the finale is going to go.
Uh-huh.
But yes, so there's no evidence without they want Saul Goodman. So really, there's not much point in going after Kim Wexler over this whole thing. I mean, if they take anything, they probably will not put her in prison, most likely.
Yeah.
Could take her to civil court though, and Kim's like, yeah, you could. And she asks why, and then we don't see the answer, which I think was a good call.
But like I said, I assume it probably has something to do with like obviously clearing her conscience, clearing Howard's name.
Yeah, no, agreed. Yes. Well, again, I think mainly it has something to do with Jean throwing in her face that, yeah, you could have done something, and Kim realizes she
Exactly.
doesn't.
Yeah.
So we have the big scene. We have like an Emmy scene here.
Dragon, this scene is like it's one of those Breaking Bad scenes where it's like you're not gonna forget where you were the first time you saw this moment. Am I right?
I'm pretty much, yeah.
Like this moment is just how it played out for me in real time. My mouth was like on the fucking floor.
So Kim Wexler's always been so put together. Like the closest we've only seen her really lose it, not even this far, but to an extent twice in the entire
Mhm.
series, when she yelled at Howard Hamlin over and putting the guilt on the Jimmy Overchuck, and most memorably with Lalo when Howard Hamlin got killed in front of her. It's the only
Sure.
time we've really seen her really kind of like lose it. So she just utterly on the bus. She utterly just kind of breaks down in tears. Hence the Waterworks.
I think it's like half depressive episode, half panic attack.
Yeah, and my read on it was that's essentially it is the guilt. It's kind of catharsis and guilt over it's over.
Yeah,
Like I
it's the
finally.
catharsis and guilt over like finally getting it off your chest. I think it's the panic and anxiety is over like what is going to happen now that it's out there, and
But
it's all those emotions kind of clashing with each other.
I think the other half of it though is it's the Saul Goodman in her realizing the jig's up, which Eugene is going to have very much towards the end of this episode. So there's the whole like just the realization of what have I done.
You know what my favorite visual moment is in this sequence?
Is it the woman putting her hand on?
Yes, I drag it. I love the choice of like you see the woman putting her hand there, and then we just cut away. Like you see like Someone is comforting her and then cut away.
Do you know who that woman is?
No.
That is Vince Gilligan's common law wife. That is Holly.
Oh, really? Oh, nice.
Yes, so that's he worked her into the episode. Worked
That's
as again.
funny.
They don't get married for like tax reasons or something. So the point being, it's like essentially his wife.
All right.
So we're okay. Let's see. So after that, okay. So back to the Gene story.
Yes. So I really feel like this is pretty much like Gene very much becoming irredeemable.
Yes. So Gene is he gets super cocky in this scene. I think he becomes irredeemable at the end of the episode, but so subconsciously he's got to be doing this. He takes the risk to basically, in some sense, fulfill Kim's wishes of turning himself in, basically getting caught. On some level, he's turning himself in by being so risky. Like, think about it, he breaks in the house, which is already a risk, and he takes all the photos, and he could leave, but he gets cocky, he stays around. He basically steals
He
extra
makes himself
things.
a goddamn drink, Dragon.
Makes himself a drink, steals a cigar, and then steals some watches. And remember, admittedly, there was he did smash that window, which is already his first mistake. But if he didn't take anything, the trouble that happens in the episode would not have happened.
I don't know. I still think that just the window being smashed alone would be enough for the guy to go out and alert the cops, honestly.
Well, yes, but there'd literally be nothing stolen, though.
Right. Yeah,
That's the difference, though. I mean, the difference is, yes, it would have been a broken window, and I think would have been less of like kind of a smoking gun there, of like, well, wait a minute, things are missing, and there's a broken window, and there's this guy doing stupid stuff. So I love by the way. So our cancer finance man here, he's he has like the passwords under the lamp.
Yeah,
it's really good. Did you notice the Easter egg on his finances?
No.
There's an amount of money very prominently shown, and it's $737,612.62.
Oh, nice.
The 737 amount that Walter White calculated. So that's really cool. Anyway, but again, the fact like the other the fact that this guy has cancer and he has everything that Walter White wanted that would have got him out of Dodge and helped him avoid having to break bad in the first place. This guy has it. Oh, his point being, he's by the way, really nice, fancy place this guy has because he has one of those houses where like the top floor is like there's no walls in between, so you kind of
it's kind of like the open air design.
Yeah. Which again is a really great set to play with because he can look over the edge and he sees, oh God, he's gone, he's gotten up, and he can't escape because there's that single hallway. It's the only way out. There's no windows.
Greg, you know what my reaction was as far as like when he was in the situation where the guy was about to come up the stairs?
What?
I was like, just jump down to the top floor and or to the bottom floor and make a run for it.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, can he pull that off?
I would have tried, Dragon. If I was in that situation, that's what I would have done. Like, you probably would have like twisted an ankle or something like that. It would have been a smooth landing. But like, that's what I would have done is I would have somehow found a way to get to the bottom side of the house.
I gotta be honest. If it were me, there were three options to contemplate. You got three options, and I was kind of weighing one of Jimmy's.
I certainly wouldn't go for the dead dog's urn.
No, I wouldn't have gone for
that. To me, was the breaking point.
No. For me, it was like his choice is either hide until he goes to the bathroom again, or he's just away. So we have to weigh it out. It's kind of the safest way. If he can aim for the couch, somehow, if there's a couch and he can aim for it, again, as like that's a last resort. But I got to be honest, the sadly the smartest bet. Grab a weapon. If he grabs close, you're going to have to knock him out. And then while he's disoriented, you run.
Just anything but the damn urn.
Well, yeah, the urn's really heavy, too.
I know, but just the fact that it was the dead dog's ashes, Dragon, it's evil.
I mean, come on. I mean, really, it's like, it's just going to, I don't know. How often do people really do the dead dog's ashes all the time, though?
No, but I'm just saying because people don't do it often, that means it's really important to this guy.
I think it was a really good.
For all we know, the dog is like the only thing that was a companion in this guy's whole life.
So the point being, in a desperate spot here, he's blocking the hallway. He's grabbing the dog Rusty's ashes. he's again. So importantly, though, the first time ever we've seen Saul Goodman in a place of contemplate. In the whole series, there's only a third time in which he's contemplated violence. Jesse Pinkman was kicking the crap out, and Saul Goodman reached for a gun. That was the only other time he's ever done that. So this is the so again, he's grabbing her, about to bash a guy's head in, but then thankfully the barbiturates kick back in again and falls asleep. He's walking out the door, but unfortunately, a comedy of errors has been going on outside the door.
Oh, this is great. This is wonderful. I am so in love with what they've been doing with Jeff as kind of like the lowest of the low, like Jesse Pinkman in the height of his Chili P career pre Walter White was way more of a professional than this guy is.
I mean, pretty much. I mean, yeah, in terms of
like
being
this
cool,
guy is just like the ultimate like fucking terrible criminal in the Breaking Bad universe, Dragon.
I mean, think about this. In terms of being cool under pressure, yes. In terms of making the smartest decisions, I mean, Jeff can follow orders, but by the same token, though, think about this. Jeff is terribly clumsy. Think about it.
Absolutely.
He slips during the run, and then, of course, what he does here, it's kind of we're playing with kind of the psychodrama of it all here, where he shows up right on time. And again, Gene then plays it cocky, so he makes him wait out there, which was the big error of the whole plan here. And then cops pull up, just like the Murphy's Law. Everything can go wrong does go wrong. Cops pull up, making him nervous, like that scene in Psycho, practically.
And then the cut from him looking at the cop car and being all paranoid to just like the fish taco conversation is
the fact that these cops
genius.
Are just pulling up and just having lunch, and there's having
Dragon. That is such a classic bit of Vince Gilligan comedy right there.
It is, and just excellent mundanity that the episode has been bathing in. Just bathing in the mundanity. Like, well, what are the cops going to do? And of course, take it ultimately. I mean, I know it's not exactly.
The cops are just like they just have no, like they could not give less of a shit about the car that's parked in front of them, Dragon. They have they barely have any cognitive awareness of it.
As far as they know, it's like, oh man, some guy's just gonna wait a long time to get into his taxi, but
right, exactly. Yeah, it's a taxi, so you have reason to. The guy does have reason to be there.
Yeah, so it's the fact that it's not a sandwich. It's the fact that it's kind of a food related thing. Is that it ain't kind of almost sandwich like conversation about a fish taco.
Is a fish taco shaped like a fish?
All right.
You remember that bit from Rocket Power?
Yeah, I do. Right. Anyway, so Jeff here, he panics, and I love how we shoot this too. Like he goes from park to drive and thinking, "Oh no, he's gonna leave Jimmy there."
Right.
But oh god, so it's the tension mounts, and then the idiot he guns it out of panic, and what does he do?
He just totally just crashes right into another car,
like the bumper, like the fend, like the back of this, like a van or something, and it's just like I love how instantaneous it is. You see, so rarely do you see an instantaneous crash from this angle, where it's like from the cops' POV. Basically, it's the ending of it's the post-credit scene on Toy Story of Terror. It's great.
I'd like to think that the cops are like, more annoyed than anything else that they have to stop their deal to deal with this idiot.
It's like, man, we're in the middle of like lunch or our wee hour breakfast of some sort. Whatever you want to call that, like whatever. Like their dinner, I guess. So, okay, so that's it's just great. So Jeffy's been pinched, and that's not good. And just Gene just kind of like just walks away. So let's see. So meanwhile, we go back to our flashback.
Yes.
So, for the only time ever, Kim Wexler is in the fully finished office, the Cathedral of Justice, which she recommended, and she's seen the columns and everything. So she in turn, it's great, right? Says, yeah, it's good.
So this is just like I feel like this is Saul completely. Like he is completely putting on a mask. I feel like I don't know. Like there's definitely some resentment. I feel like he still does care about her, but he doesn't want her to know it under any circumstances.
I think he's upset with her. I think because again, you saw how devastated he was by the breakup, and this is the nail in the coffin. He's trying to put on. For him, he's putting on a brave face by being a big jerk. You know,
Sure,
he's
sure.
trying to make it, yeah, I'll be fine, Kim. Don't, but he's not really conveying any of that. He's just saying like, you know what, I don't matter to you, you don't matter to me. And
I feel like he could have been even more of a jerk about the Florida stuff. He could have really jumped down her throat about the Florida thing.
well, yeah, he could have been, but it's the fact of like, like essentially in his ways, like, you sure you don't want that sand? He's not even really offering the sandpiper money. He's like, well, yeah, you didn't want that sandpiper money,
Uh-huh,
so it's
uh-huh.
why is beyond me. So going to Florida, why? I don't need to know. Just a big jerk, and it's really sad to see, and it's the fact they kind of leave on that note, and the closest thing you're going to have to catharsis is Kim Wexler saying, "I'm glad you're not dead." So
And
our
so
timeline.
Francesca leads her out, and then like Saul is just like, "Hey, sweet cheeks, bring in the next one. Let's make some money."
I love the way he says it. Let's make some money.
It's like, oh god, like Saul is just like, like it's so interesting because when you think of like the evolution of Jimmy transforming into Saul Goodman, where it's like for pretty much the entire time that Kim was with him when he was practicing the Saul Goodman, there was still the guise of like, Jimmy McGill is essentially still, like for as much talk as we had of like, oh, this is the death of Jimmy McGill. This is the death of Jimmy McGill. Like Jimmy McGill essentially was still the man that she came home to at the end of the day.
Yeah, he was
Not
just
Saul
basically it
Goodman.
was Jimmy McGill with festive commercials.
Whereas this guy is just 100% Mr. Hyde, like Jimmy, like Saul Goodman, like locked in, and just like there's no sign of Jimmy left at all here.
Yeah. It's sad. And also the fact that like Kim has to overhear like basically she gets like a little tease at like what Breaking Bad's gonna be like, with terms like he's just beating down this poor woman, and she like calling her sweet cheeks and everything, and just seeing this office full of kind of like the clients who really don't deserve representation. And yeah, it's rather sad. Now, talking about our setting here, so we are right before the first season of Breaking Bad with this.
Mm-hmm.
So that's as long as it took to kind of get the full office up to the ground and up off the ground and everything. And yeah, so and again, the fact that she didn't take the sandpiper money, so she again she broke bad, chose not to take the money. So she's going outside. It's pouring down rain. In one sense of the word, the heavens are crying. The waterworks of the episode, if you will, and symbolically, her sprinkler future is calling to her with water.
Indeed, indeed.
So so again, Kim's doing the thing. She now does not have her smoking buddy, but I think she's gonna find a new one. Tiki, who is it?
It's Jesse.
Jesse Pinkman. So that's the thing. The other person, I think one, Aaron Paul really loves Kim Wexler. So the fact he really loved doing this scene, by the way.
I really love this scene. I think it's better than I don't know. Like I think it's probably on the same level as the Mike flashback from last episode. I think it's better than the RV flashbacks from last episode. I don't know. It's just the idea that Jesse Pinkman and Kim Wexler kind of have a camaraderie a little bit, like that Jesse Pinkman respects Kim Wexler as the person who's always sticking up for the little guy. Like I love that idea.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, what I love too about it is the fact that thematically, again, both of them are the only people to have broken bad. In fact, Jesse got away with it too. He was the other guy I was
Right,
alluding to.
right.
So the
You're
fact that
right.
these
Yeah.
two, that our two blonde characters have kind of a moment of like they got away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Is knowing where their destinies kind of lead them to here, like she did, and she's kind of passing that on to him, like, hey, after a lot of hardship, you'll eventually break bad. But yeah, in regards to the scene, though, also the reason there's a reason Jesse's there. Emilio, the other half that no one ever talks about, the guy who actually gets killed before we do the awesome bike lock
I
thing
know,
with
right?
Crazy Eight. Emilio, remember how stupid Emilio is here? Where Emilio's like, I don't do paperwork.
Yep.
I love this. Like, he doesn't. Did you hear that? He does, like, saying this guy's an idiot. Don't do business with this guy. Doesn't do paperwork. That's fine. Come in here. Forget the paperwork. Come in. So yes, we have the kind of the idiot era of Jesse Pinkman dialogue, which is a lot of fun. Just him just trying to work up pleasantries to kind of manipulate her into a recommendation.
I mean, it is the idiot era for sure. But like I said, there is a heart there
Yeah.
with how he recognizes Kim as a good person.
I mean, he does. I think he instantly respects Kim Wexler and he appreciates her for what she did for him. Combo was kind of the innocent of the group. Combo is like Christian Ortega. And the fact that we mentioned this in Breaking Bad, the fact that he stole a nativity scene, so this is really cool. Like, oh, Kim Wexler bailed him out of the nativity scene thing.
Right, that's great. And it makes sense that she would be working with someone like him on a case like that.
Yeah, again, she'd be kind of the mom to Pinkman and his wacky friends.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So he recognized her for that, and yeah, so there's kind of like I love the fact I hope he's keeping his nose clean. Like, oh yeah, sure he is. Of course, the tragedy there being Combo ends up dead by not keeping his nose clean. So Emilio is in trouble now, and he's going to Saul Goodman, and Jesse's asking him like, yeah, I told her this Pinkman dialogue is really fun though. So the whole like, he told me like the guy's got a funny TV commercial. I don't think that's a sound basis for picking a lawyer. Like, would you go to a doctor if he had a funny commercial? I don't think so.
Right.
I love there's a logic within Jesse's idiocy. I love that there's like,
Uh-huh.
he is right. You can't deny there is like it's a clumsy way he's going about it, but he's not wrong. Anyway, so we have the big haunting line here of when I knew him, he was. When I knew him, he was. Now, Tiki, this is where we put the period on things with the creation of Saul Goodman. I love it. Because of this recommendation, Walt and Jesse take their business to Saul Goodman.
Sure.
So Kim Wexler, in a sense, they would have found Saul Goodman anyway because his face is plastered all over there, and that's most likely why Badger called Saul Goodman. But I'm just saying in general, though, the reason Jesse being recommended, hey, we should do business with Saul Goodman, Kim Wexler essentially is responsible for season 2 onward of Breaking Bad. If you think about it, it's they again without Saul Goodman. Vince Gilligan brought this up in the Talking Saul thing they did with Chris Hardwick, in the after show. Without Saul Goodman, the show is there is no Gus Fring in the picture. We do not go as far as we do in Breaking Bad. It kind of ends with Tuco without Saul Goodman.
That's true. Yeah.
Saul Goodman very pivotal, and Kim Wexler kind of pulled the string on all that. So she's kind of the unofficial mother of Breaking Bad, at least for like 4 to 5 seasons. All right. So we go from that. She walks off into the rain, leaving Pinkman to kind of go on his adventure. I was stupefied by that, by the way. It's kind of that realization, like, oh wow.
Yeah. No, it's great.
Okay, so this parallels to where we are now, where Gene is, it parallels to, Kim was on the bus going to Albuquerque, now Gene is on the bus, like getting to his car.
Yeah, and he's making himself a drink, Dragon. Of course he's making himself a drink.
And he awaits a phone call that he knows is going to show up, and it's Jeffy, and this is hysterical. So they know people are listening.
The little hand gesture he does when the phone starts ringing, like, all right, showtime.
Remember, he's always done this throughout the show. He's doing like a phone ring phone, so not waiting all night. I've done this too, ring. So Jeffy calls, and he has
hey, Dad.
He has to play Jeffy's dad, which is hysterical.
I would like to think that they did go over this contingency in case something did happen.
I would like to think they did too, yeah. I'd like to think so, because it does feel like Jeff's playing this really cool. So, but he is also kind of like emphasizing like things maybe more than they should. So it's kind of hard to tell how much that's just Jeff, being Jeff, or how much of that's like,
I think the thing is, like, if it weren't for the robbery charges, it'd be a lot different. But the robbery charges are clearly what's making him nervous.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yes. So, anyway, so he gives them some really good legal advice, which is the fact, well, they don't, and again, it kind of parallels the Kim Wexler story, where, again, there is no real evidence outside of hearsay, so it's kind of, again, paralleling the two stories there. So, like, hey, look, they have no evidence, so basically, if you play this right, you don't even have to do bail or anything. So this will quietly go away if you basically, hold through the night and we collect you. Essentially, just hold that a little longer. And ideally, if Gene's, basically, if Gene shows up there, then there's a link to him, which then puts the robbery thing in jeopardy. So that's why they really need Marion involved here. So Gene calls Marion, the great Carol Burnett, presumably for the last time. Presumably, we don't know. She could be at a trial. I'm not sure.
I don't think this is the last time we're going to see her. I think there's a possibility we could see her again.
It's possible, but I don't know how much. I don't know how long I don't know how long the last episode's going to be. Not sure. So Jean calls Marion to tell her about Jeffy and the situation she's in. She's starting to spiral and say, "Oh, it's this boy will be the death of me." As Carol Burnett does. Oh, she's like emphasizing a little bit of kind of melodrama in it, which is fun.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so it almost is technically, given this episode, it almost is the death of her.
Right, right.
So importantly, we have the big mistake. Did you catch the big mistake that Jean made?
No. Can't say I
Yeah,
did.
so this is how she finds out. So Jean slips. Well, but it's twofold.
Oh, with the album. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. Like
So
him,
he
basically him not like being familiar with Albuquerque law, even though he said that he'd never been to Albuquerque.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
So in general, like he's already kind of slipping into Saul Goodman more than he has been. He's been getting a little careless with that with her. He's been kind of charming the old folks like a Saul Goodman would, but primarily, yes, he quoted Albuquerque law very knowledgeably, which he never would be able to do for a guy who's never been to
sure.
Albuquerque. So anyway, and then she's asking like, "Well, wait, why did he call you first?" So she's starting to pull at the threads. Anyway, so she's getting to thinking. She pulls out her laptop, which, by the way, was something that Jeffy bought with the money from the
Yeah,
robbery.
it's another thing that Jeffy is like kind of responsible for.
Yep, his undoing. He needs a Hue and a QB.
uh,
All right, so she's surfing the web until the wee hours of the morning. So we then have a happy Gene. It's going to end so unhappily for him. He's such a happy Gene singing in the car. He's going to pick up Marion. Plan's going to go accordingly. But she spent the whole night on that laptop searching.
mm-hmm.
What happens?
Well, at first, Marion is kind of like reluctant to say anything. She's kind of just trying to dodge it. She's just like, no, like you should just go, like I'm busy here. But then Dragon, he hears some familiar dialogue, and then he sees a splash of color in his
So
glasses.
I love that he pulls like the cord out. He hears it, and then he puts the laptop up, and then we with the color in the glasses, huge monolithic moment because we haven't done this since the very first episode of him watching the tape. We've introduced
Uh-huh.
color into. I gotta be honest, Teak, I'm thinking next episode is going to be in full color.
I'm thinking so too, especially given the promo that we got.
Exactly, that's my thought entirely. So yeah, so that's the thing. So the color has been introduced again. This is kind of I love the reaction on Odenkirk's face here, where it's like it's the realization of Saul Goodman that the jig's up because of a little old lady, which old people were always his thing, and the fact that it got him in the end. They got
Sure, sure.
careless, and that's what did him in. Like the easiest mark he ever had got him.
And this is something that people have been predicting basically since Marion got introduced, but I think it was played out in a really good way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I thought she was just gonna be kind of a one and done, but the fact she came back the way she did is just, and they paid it off this well is just fantastic. Yeah.
Uh,
I love how we explain how she found out too. It's a really logical way. She asked Jeeves, Albuquerque and con man, most prolific figure of cons in Albuquerque right now, Saul Goodman, which is a
yeah,
sad
especially
legacy.
because the news is so hot about the Heisenberg case.
It's a sad legacy he leads. So we have this we have this really tense and kind of terrifying scene here where Gene's trying to de-escalate things, but he rips the cord out of the wall, and I
Yeah,
love
ripping
this
the
too.
cord out of the wall, and then like that distinct gesture he makes of like the going in for the strangle.
I love this too, where he's remember she plugs it into the laptop. So I love that cord that was in the wall. She pulled it from the phone and put it into the laptop. So I love we kind of built up that cord a little bit there. And yeah, he's holding it like he's gonna in a manner that suggests he's going to strangle her. And he's a desperate man right now, and he's his worst fear is prison. So he's just making his way to her, saying like, let's not lose our heads, essentially. And there's such a palpable terror, and I think there's a twinge. So he goes up to her, and she goes for the life alert bracelet. He talks her not out of not pushing, and he basically has it in his hand, and has that killer line, Tiki.
Yeah.
It's that line of like, I trusted you. And I think that brings out a twinge of humanity that basically, as we've set up with the cancer mark, he doesn't want to go as far as Walter White. He's like a twinge of humanity. Like, I don't want to become Walter White and killing Mike. I don't want to do that. I can't. I can't bring myself to that. That's not who I am.
For as close as it looked like he got with the telephone wire, like in your heart of hearts, didn't you know, like, there was no way he was actually going to go through with killing her?
That's the thing, because I know he didn't want to kill her, and initially I thought he was just going to he was going to try and tie her up or something, but it wasn't going to go well. That's initially what I thought it was going to be. But indeed, then it kind of occurs to me, I guess he's trying to make it look, he's trying to intimidate her into not doing anything by making it look like he's going to, strangle her. But regardless, though, on the rewatch, though, Tiki, he is so desperate. We set up very clearly he was almost going to hit that guy, that he's been getting violent and desperate, or at least on the precipice that he's never been before, because he's never been on his heels this much.
That's true.
And I think he's genuinely terrified by how close he was to doing that, and just that twinge of humanity comes back, like, you know what? I love old people. I don't want to do this. And of course, she hits the life alert thing, and I love the resonance of like the life alert lady on the other line, like, Marion, you okay? Says, no, I am not okay. There is a criminal in my kitchen, and his name. I love this thing. We built up all this Gene stuff for the entirety of the series.
Yeah, for sure.
And
I understood the significance of this as well. Yeah,
we gave the big line of the name being said aloud for all.
And his name is Saul Goodman.
We gave it to Carol Burnett of all figures. Never in a million years would I have predicted. Like, and you know who's going to out him? It's going to be Carol Burnett delivering the big line in her loud Tarzan yelly kind of way. Saul Goodman!
Right, totally.
And he runs, he flees. It's Saul on the run. One could say it's Saul gone.
Indeed.
Yeah, so that's our... How fantastic an ending to an episode is that? I mean,
it's great. I mean,
there's your Ozymandias ending for you there, man. Come on.
More or less. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Dragon, just final thoughts of the episode before we get into some quick spec. I don't know, man. Like, I think season 6 has really just been firing on all cylinders outside of the one weird boxing episode. I think that's kind of like the open house of the season, where it's like you and I kind of like can agree it's sort of like it's not a bad episode by any means, but it's just kind of like, did we really need it?
Well, I mean, importantly though, again, open house is more of like, I don't want this episode here, where Black and Blue, at least it's a fun, like, it's fun seeing him in the boxing ring. We don't need that scene. It's really one scene versus the episode.
That's true. But I mean, this is just another home run, and I think out of the 3 epilogue episodes we've gotten so far, this is probably the most well-rounded, just because of all the different things we check in with, between Kim and the big ending, and the hilarity of the actual heist, and Jeff just being a total idiot, and I think there's a lot here to chew on. Of course, the flashback, the big Jesse scene. I really think this is like up there. Like, I don't know, Dragon. It's gonna take a while for me to like truly, like, I feel like coming up with the best episodes of Breaking Bad are a little bit easier, just because I feel like Breaking Bad, like the best episodes, like the Ozymandiases and the crawl spaces of the world and those types of episodes, the full measures. Like, they kind of almost have taken on like a mythic quality in the pop culture landscape, right? Whereas I feel like with Better Call Saul, because Better Call Saul is such a tight-knit story, it's a little bit more difficult for me personally to differentiate, like, oh, that was the best episode ever. Because they're all just kind of like these little pieces of the overall puzzle. But, I mean, suffice to say, I do think this is a highlight of the season for sure, and it's incredibly memorable. It's pretty much everything we wanted out of seeing Kim in the post Breaking Bad timeline. So I really like this one a lot.
Yeah, this is a great episode. I love how thematic it was, and again, that's the thing. I really love these last couple episodes. They've really been pulling out all the stops in terms of how we can really kind of like tell our stories. In terms of like we kind of have 2 timelines to play with now. And we're kind of weaving them in really interesting ways. Our flashback structure again keeps getting more interesting here. I'll admit though, at the top of the episode, for a moment, I was a little worried about, kind of suburban Kim, because I was worried, like, how jarring is this going to be, and kind of distracting from the cliffhanger of last episode. But obviously, it went tremendously well.
Uh-huh.
Gets to that bus scene, man. I mean, come on. Yeah. So I mean, it ended in a very hype worthy place. The end times are indeed upon us, and there is a huge target on Saul Goodman's back right now, and it's just going to be. I mean, it's just going to be crazy where it goes, and I'm really sad to. I'm sad to see it end, but I'm happy that we got to see it. Happy that you and we think about the journey that we've gone on, Tiki. We've been kind of had our own Breaking Bad from start to finish. We've been kind of on our own RV trip with.
I mean, to be fair, I jumped into Breaking Bad, like, as far as, like, watching it live from pretty much season 2 onwards. So I've been with it for most of the journey, but...
I know that, Tiki. What I mean is you and I have been on a journey.
No, I know. Yeah.
Yes. This is why he's the Jesse and I'm the Walt in this situation.
Oh, you were always the Walt in our dynamic, for sure, no doubt.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. But yes. It's the roles we've taken.
Indeed. All right, so Spec Dragon. Obviously, we see him trying to go for the Hoover. Trying to make the Hoover call in color. I think, to me, that's got to mean, like, at the very least, the episode is going to transition into color at a certain point, if not just outright begin in color.
I think it's just going to begin in color.
I think so, yeah.
You know what I think is going to happen? I think the tape is going to be our transition into color.
Ooh, that's neat.
I think we're just going to do something where, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be like he's like ejecting the tape. They're not going to go this far. He's ejecting the tape and putting it in the box and running. Because remember, he's going to need to take that shoebox. Because he's going to need to take that shoebox with him. And remember, the way he was going to pay the disappear, I mean, now he has other cash, but I mean, he possibly has other cash, but he has the diamonds in that little Band-Aid tin. So, I don't know. But there's a speculation where I think is ultimately going to end. I think he is going to be reunited with Kim. Won't be this. Honestly, a part of me wonders if we're going to end. I don't know how long he's going to go away for. I don't know. I think he's going to end up in prison, and I think potentially the very ending will be he and Kim reunited after his sentence, but it's a question of how long.
You see, I don't necessarily think the Kim reunion's on the table after this episode. I just don't. I think they've done too much damage to each other. I honestly feel like after this episode, any sort of happy ending would be a little disingenuous. Now, if it was like a bittersweet ending, or like an ending of like, even after all this time, she still hasn't forgiven him or something like that. I don't. I'm just saying, like, because I've heard so many theories of it ending with, just this like kind of like happy reunion, and I just can't see it. I just like I think. Go ahead.
There's two things to bear in mind here. Okay, one with Kim with. I think the bittersweet way it could end, that would give us a reunion, but so let me throw it out. Okay, so Saul Goodman is most likely not redeemable. So that's the interesting thing we're going into this with, that we can't really redeem this character, which we kind of had with Walt to a degree. Obviously, we could, he had to go, but he went on his own terms, and kind of saw the journey that character went on. Now we can't necessarily do that with Saul Goodman, I don't think. But what we can do is, because we set up the documentation, I think this is going to be the bullet that kind of kills Saul Goodman and sends him to prison, is that confession. I think the closest thing they're going to have to a happy ending, or kind of like a bittersweet reunion, is going to be Kim will be at the trial or called as a witness or something, and basically there'll be an acknowledgement between the two of them, and he won't be mad at her, and like she'll have
maybe it'll be like kind of like a La La Land style, like they don't get back together or anything, but maybe there's just like a nod of acknowledgement.
Something, yes, like a nod, or like a little a wordless exchange between the two, or possibly the best they could hope for is she visits him in prison. I don't think it's going to go that far. That's the question. It depends. If we go the happy ending, it'll either be her visiting him in prison or like him after prison. That's the happy ending, which again, how likely that is, I don't know. But regardless, I'm thinking because of that document, she's going to factor in, at least she's going to see him at least one more time. That's what I think.
Sure.
in terms like, can you think of before we get at you? Can you think of anything like any like kind of stuff on the table that we would need to round out the Saul Goodman character after the journey that we went on with Jimmy Eagle and Saul Goodman?
I can't really think of anything that we necessarily need. I mean, it's like Bill Burr would be great, but
Mm-hmm.
I really don't think we need him in the grand scheme of things. Uh, no, I really do think that it's just going to come down to like next episode is just going to be the ultimate fate of Saul Goodman, and it's going to be pretty straightforward.
Because I don't think the whole episode's going to be an on the run episode because
I don't think
clearly
so either.
because we
I
did a
think
whole
maybe
movie
the
of that.
first half is going to be on the run at most.
Because we've done a whole episode of that with El Camino. Well, a whole movie of that with El Camino.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So based on that, we can't. He's going to definitely, like, there's no way we're going to kill him off, right?
Honestly, the only reason I don't think it's on the table, like I think it would be on the table if what you said about like I could see him maybe getting killed off in prison, to tell you the truth.
Okay, actually, okay, I'm going to tell you what. If he gets killed, there's only two situations in which I see it
I mean,
happen.
I'm just saying, like, I don't think it's, I don't think it's as cut and dry that he doesn't. That I don't know. I think it's very much a possibility.
If he gets killed, I'm thinking there's only two ways that happens. One, in the prison, there are it's some Salamanca guys
Uh,
that basically that get him. It's going to be something like that, and their last words are going to be, "Hey, you're the guy from the commercials," and then stab.
right.
So the other way is which he's in a cell. He's
What
completely
if his
devoid.
last words are literally just like the cartel coming for him in prison and he's just trying to reason with him one more time? It was Ignacio! It was Ignacio!
Nah, we can't pull that hat trick.
I
Twice.
know, I know.
I can you imagine though if we this would be cheesy. They're never gonna do this. But can you imagine if like they were saying, "Hey, the guy from the commercial," and he in a joking way says, "Yeah, better call Saul," and then he gets stabbed from behind and killed.
Oh God. Jesus
Or they all shiv him like the montage. I mean, that's I don't
he
think
got
they're
killed for trying to be a friendly guy.
a friend. Yep, a friend of the cartel.
Oh God.
So the other way, this is the darkest ending, and I don't know how appropriate it'd be, but again, if he's in a cell alone, he kills himself.
Yeah, that could very. I could see that.
I mean, again, like prison, he's got nothing. He's got nothing left, and perhaps he tries calling Kim once, and she doesn't answer, and he kills himself.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But yeah, just trying to think if there's anything like symbolic that there'd be that they'd have to get in there for the last episode, like the kind of closing things out.
What about something regarding the topper at the beginning of the season, the bottle topper?
Well,
Do you
let's
think
okay.
we pretty much cleared that up already?
Well, yeah, I think so. I think it was just kind of thematic of the whole. It was the Kim mystery of it. Like, where's Kim Wexler?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So I don't
right,
think we're gonna.
right.
I don't think we're gonna see. I don't think we're gonna see that. But if any, let me put it this way. I wonder if we're gonna pay anything off of like if we're gonna go through everything that's in the shoebox when he's looking for the disappearance number. I wonder if we're gonna do a bit like that.
Uh-huh.
You know,
I can
he
see
probably
it.
memorized that number though. I can't remember when he called him earlier a couple seasons back. If he pulled out a card, I think he just remembered the number.
I can't remember either. Yeah, that's a good question.
I think Walt memorized it. I don't know if Walt called it or he memorized it. I don't know. The point's an important number. So who knows? And also, they were saying that it's going to be interesting. I wonder if they're going to use it with some archival stuff for Robert Forster, or if the number just doesn't get called through. Because I don't think he's getting away again. That's right now. That's his only move he's hoping for. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Can you imagine if the episode starts with like, "Hey, I need your help," and like, what if? Nope, it's only one per customer, and just hangs up.
right.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Then he's like on his own. He has no idea. Okay, I gotta try it on my own. It's not gonna go well.
All right. So I think that's about it, Dragon. I think we can pretty much get out of here.
Well, folks, don't forget to tune in next week for the finale of the whole series. The series finale. Talking about it one last time.
Uh-huh.
Remember, kids, when you get that phone call, make it count. Better call Saul. Saul Goodman Associates is the one-stop shop for all your legal needs.
And with that, we are adjourned.
We could totally be lawyers.
Totally.
Totally.
Is a
Duke's
fish
man.
taco shaped like a fish?
This isn't Duke's mayonnaise at all.